Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily. My favorite makeup today is this. This is from Makeup Forever. This is the Step 1 Skin Equalizer Smoothing Primer. I've been using this a lot lately to sort of like smooth out my nose and on my forehead because my pores are just having a field day. The weather has been so strange, like my skin is really upset, even though I'm using my regular stuff. So this has sort of been covering up the effects of that. And now on to the video. For today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the new Huda Beauty Gemstone Obsessions palette. This is a $27 palette, has 9 shades in it. She just released 2 new versions of it. There's this one and there's also another one that's full of beautiful oranges. For those, I don't think I needed that palette because I feel like that's mostly covered in my Desert Dusk palette for me, but I really love the shimmer shades that she has available in the other mini palettes, and this is an entirely shimmer shade palette. So let's take a look at this today. Personally, I love these palettes for travel. You do get 9 different shades, which is more than a lot of little travel palettes do, plus it has a very large mirror. So I'm a big fan of these palettes. I have 3 of them now, and I may continue to collect some just depending on whether colors are for me or not, but this one definitely is right up my alley. And here are the swatches in the palette. They're really beautiful foily shimmer finish. Like, I'm really quite interested in them. They are actually very different, though you might think some of these pinky purpley shades like this one and this one might look a little bit similar. There's definitely a blue reflect in this top shadow here, and the bottom one down here is definitely a lot more of a light pink. I really do enjoy all of these. I also compared them to some of the shades in the Electric Obsessions palette, so you could take a look and see how similar they are. So along the side here, these are the 3 shades from the Electric Obsessions palette. So these are definitely complementary. These purples are kind of similar, but they're not exactly the same. There's definitely a different shade to the blue, and that teal is unlike any of the shadows in the Gemstones palette. I think that the 2 palettes are very complementary, plus you also get the mattes with the Electric palette. So for me, I bought the Gemstone palette as a companion to that, because if I'm looking for nice, beautiful, bright colors, but I also want additional shimmers, I thought this would be a good choice for me. For me, when you compare these 2 palettes, I definitely think they're going to pair very well together. Sort of, you have some mattes over here that will pair nicely with some of the shimmers, especially if you're going for like a monochromatic look, but if you just sort of want to switch it up, you can definitely make a good look together with both of these. Also, if you just want to add these as like a touch of color to a more neutral eye, I think that would also be great for this palette. One thing to note, I have experienced some staining of my eyelids when I use the Electric Obsessions palette, so then I just have to be more careful when I remove my makeup. I didn't really find that was the case with the Gemstone, but I didn't necessarily layer those super heavily. Sort of a little of these shadows can go a really long way, and you don't need to use a lot of it in order to get a beautiful wash of color, so I think it just depends on what you have underneath. I also did prime my eyes, and I'm not going to be putting a matte shadow underneath. I'm just going to be using this palette because I figured this is a standalone palette, and I sort of want to see what it looks like just by itself, so you can see, you know, can you make a good look with this, or are you really going to need mattes in order to make a look? So for today's look, I'm sort of torn because there's definitely colors I want to be using right away, but I'm trying to make the best of this use of this palette and not just go with like the first 3 colors that I'm like, those are my favorites, I want to use those, because otherwise I'll just end up with all purple looks all the time with like a spot of green. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this shade up in the corner, this shade here, and this blue down here. So what I'm going to go with first is I'm going to take this purpley shade here, and I'm sort of wash that across the lid. I want to see how this performs by itself. This is a beautiful accent color. It's got like a lovely reflect to it, but I'm curious what it's going to look like if I take it all the way across my lid. I am using brushes with these, although I find these shadows also perform great if you just use your finger, but I want to make it a little bit lighter. It's definitely more intense if I use my fingers, so I'm going for more of a wash of color today. And so far I think that's really beautiful, and it's very subtle, and it's not necessarily like, bam, there's so much shimmer and glitter on your face that that's all anyone can look at. Not that I mind that, personally. So next I'm going to take that blue shade down in the corner, and I'm going to sort of like blend that to the outside of my eye. So I sort of feel like I'm getting a really interesting watercolor effect, but the way that the light reflects, because it's so shimmery, it makes it look like I blended it unevenly, but when I look at it, you know, up close, it's really just the way the reflection is going. I'm trying to blend it a little bit with my fingers. It's like, there really aren't patchy spots here, it's just the way the light reflects, so that's a little strange. We'll go on from there. I'm going to take this shade up in the corner and put that as an inner corner highlight, and I am going to use my finger for that. I'm actually going to take a little bit of this shade here and try to run that along the lower lash line. I'm not positive this is going to work. I haven't found that I have the best luck with using these shimmer shadows under the lash line, but that doesn't mean it won't. Yeah, that's not giving me the impact I'm looking for, so I think I'm going to go with that center shade instead and try to put a little of that, because that's a slightly different sort of texture to the shadow as opposed to the one I tried to use previously. It's a little less chunky, if you will. Yeah, that's more of what I'm going for. I'm going to blend that out with the top lid, but I'm going to put some eyeliner on too. Right, I'm gonna grab some eyeliner and I'll be right back. Now that I put the base coat of the eyeliner on, I'm gonna also sort of tap a little bit of that center purple shade on top to sort of have more cohesiveness with the bottom part. And this is my finished look. Not my finest wings, but they'll do for today. No big deal. It's raining anyway, so it's not like it's gonna last. But in any case, the way I feel about this particular eyeshadow palette, I really like it. I do like it by itself, but I do understand why most people would want to pair it with like a matte palette as well. I do think that it would go very nicely with the Electric Obsessions. I probably would, you could make it work with any of the Huda Beauty Obsessions palettes. I think that, you know, the colors are interesting enough. They'll blend with really anything. I really love these palettes. I think that they're some of the best palettes that have been coming out recently. And even though they are very tiny, I think they're appropriately priced for how much shadow you're getting in them and the shades that you have available. And they're so easy for travel, especially because they have such a great mirror inside. So I'm a big fan of these palettes. This one in particular really spoke to me and I'm super excited to have it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content on this channel, please subscribe. If you get a suggestion for a video, you can put that down in the comments below. I will be traveling next week, so you will still get videos, but I'll be packing up my makeup again and heading out for another 3 weeks. So, you know, work never stops. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day and I'll see you all soon. Bye!